الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Respected brothers and sisters in Islam, first we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala once again. Allah has granted us the tawfiq and the ability to have performed our Maghrib Salaah with Jama'ah. Alhamdulillah, we make dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our Salah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us sincerity and istiqamah. Ameen Rabbil Alameen. Inshallah, continuing this evening with our tafsir of Surah Al-Duha. As we have mentioned last week, that why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed the Surah to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is primarily as a means of comforting the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As we have mentioned, that this happened in a time when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stopped the wahi from coming down. And the Quraysh, or the enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they started mocking Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They said to him that, Ya Allah, your Lord has forsaken you. Allah doesn't love you anymore. So already Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, being human being, and that wahi, as we mentioned, was a means of comfort to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's means of communicating with his Creator Allah. And Ya Allah stops the wahi, and he's already in a state of worrying and concern. And here the Quraysh, they add more salt to the wound of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which obviously saddened Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which increased the anxiety or the stress and the sadness of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then eventually Allah revealed the Surah Al-Duha as comfort to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as we mentioned last week, where Allah starts off the Surah Al-Duha wal-layli idha saja, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about, and Allah takes an oath with the early morning, the morning hours, the mid-morning hours, and Allah takes an oath with the evening and the night as it overcomes the day. And now some Mufassirun mention as if Allah is giving Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam hope that, like how every day, every morning is a rise from new opportunities, new beginnings, like that, Ya Rasulullah, there's more opportunities that will come your way in terms of your connection and wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And like how the evening overcomes the day, like that, this difficulty that is seemingly so difficult for you to overcome, that is saddening you, this you will overcome. This trial and difficulty you will overcome. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala beautifully comforts the heart of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam by saying that ma wadda'aka rabbuka wa ma qala, that Allah doesn't hate you. It is not that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has abandoned you. So Allah is confirming Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, bringing peace to the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised and informs Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Al-akhiratu khayrun laka min al-ula," that indeed, O Muhammad, that the akhirah, it is better for you than this dunya. The akhirah, it is better for you than this dunya. Bringing more comfort to the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this evening, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again mention some of the bounties which Allah will give our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, continuing to comfort the heart of our beloved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam by saying, وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْطِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى, and verily your Allah will give you so that you shall be well pleased. Imagine Allah is telling Rasulullah that I will give you to the extent it will please you, Ya Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Mufassirun interpret this by saying, the first way they interpreted it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant. Like in the initial stages of Islam, it was difficult for Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. At moments and stages, he kind of became hopeless, because why? Of all the struggles in propagating this deen of Allah, all the difficulties that came and all the torture that came. So Allah is telling him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the latter part of your ummah, meaning after this difficulty, it will be pleasing for you, Ya Rasulullah, when you see the result of the effort. And that Rasulullah experienced in his life before he passed away. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam became very pleased to see if the effort is put in, and how the ummah of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is becoming. Today, the ummah is spread in all the four corners of this dunya. So that is one sense of this interpretation of this ayah. Also the ulama mentioned in terms of the ummah of Rasulullah, that Rasulullah's main concern and worry was us, his ummah. That everything was how my ummah can be saved, how they can be saved from the fire of Jahannam. And his heart couldn't rest knowing that there will be people in the fire of Jahannam from his ummah. And even in that, the Mufassirun mentioned in terms of the interpretation of this ayah, that Allah brought comfort to the heart of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that even in terms of your ummah being safeguarded from the fire of Jahannam, in that result you will also be pleased, Ya Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And also the different bounties Allah which will bestow upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah has given him the Kawthar, the well of Kawthar which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so many favors and ni'mas which Allah will prepare for our beloved Rasulullah in Jannah. So Allah is affirming to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam that soon I will give you, soon I will bestow my bounties upon you, Ya Muhammad, that you will be pleased with it. Again, bringing comfort to the heart of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions of some of Allah's favors upon our beloved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where Allah reminds Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like how at this moment you became despondent, you feel worried that Allah has left you. Allah reminds Rasulullah previously that how Allah supported him even before he was a prophet. That Allah has never left the side of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Allah says, "Alam yajidaka yatiman fa'awa." Did I not find you an orphan and gave you refuge? Imagine Allah is telling Rasulullah, did I not find you an orphan, Ya Muhammad? And I've given you refuge. Imagine Rasulullah, we know that his father passed away while his mother was pregnant with him. And when we read through the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we find that always Allah replaced the loss of Rasulullah with someone which will give Rasulullah a great love. When his grandfather took over the care of taking care of Rasulullah, he gave him such love and compassion and rahmah. When his grandfather passed away at the age of 8, again Allah sent his uncle Abu Talib. And Abu Talib, as we read through the seerah, he even gave Rasulullah more love and compassion to Rasulullah than his own children. So Allah always replaced the loss of Rasulullah with something better and someone better. Always comforting Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Allah is reminding him that wasn't there a time when you were an orphan and I safeguarded you, Ya Muhammad. I gave you refuge. Allah saying, وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًا فَهَدَى, and He found you unaware and guided you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected and guided Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even though he was not given the responsibility of da'wah in Islam, never came into Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yet before then, Allah safeguarded him from all the fitness of the time, all the wrong of the time. So Allah has protected Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then Allah has guided Rasulullah with this ni'mah of iman. Not only guided him with the ni'mah of iman, but made him the final prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah speaks about وَوَجَدَكَ عَائِلًا فَأَغْنَى. You know, Muhammad, wasn't there a time where we found you of having no wealth and property, someone being poor, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made you rich. Allah enriched you with wealth and property in this dunya when he went into partnership with his beloved wife Khadija radiallahu anha, and when he eventually married Khadija radiallahu anha, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, financial side of his life, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam became wealthy again. But did the ulama mention Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah combined these two qualities. When he never had anything, when he was poor, he was patient. And Allah gave him wealth, he was thankful for the ni'mas and bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah has made Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam independent. So Allah is mentioning these qualities and these favors and reminding Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam about these bounties that Allah has bestowed upon him. And this is for us a lesson, my beloved brothers and sisters in Islam, that sometimes we feel despondent, or we go through difficulty in life, we go through test and trial. We feel distant from Allah. We should remember that Allah has never left our side. Allah is waiting for us to return. Allah is waiting for us to come back to and ask for assistance. Allah is waiting for us The hadith mentioned, every night Allah comes down. Is there any one of my slaves in need of anything? So I can grant it and give it to him. So Allah is waiting, but we don't make the effort. We oversleep. We're not taking the opportunity. And also in the time of difficulty, time of trial, good to remind ourselves of all the favors Allah has bestowed upon us. All the ni'mas Allah has bestowed upon us. Sometimes we become so focused on the trial and difficulty we go through, we forget all the other favors and ni'mas of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So my beloved brothers and sisters in Islam, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who will take lesson from this beautiful surah of the Quran and make us of those who will implement it and try and apply it in our lives. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك